So today we are going to be making chicken tenders. So overnight we need to marinate our chicken. I have 1 tablespoon of seasoning salt. I have 1 teaspoon of cayenne and 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. I'm just gonna add 1 cup of buttermilk. And then I have 2 chicken breasts that I cut into about 1-inch pieces. And I'm going to add the chicken tenders in and mix it inside the buttermilk marinade so they're all coated, and we're gonna leave this overnight or for a few hours. So I covered it with some saran wrap and place it in the fridge overnight, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. So we're gonna get started on our buttermilk biscuits. I'm going to use 2 cups of cake flour. If you have white lily flour, that would be ideal. Now the way I'm going to spoon the flour is to spoon it into the measuring cup and then level it once it reaches the top. This will kind of put a little bit of air into the flour and aerate it. If you want to sift it, you can sift the flour too, but just don't use the measuring cup and go straight down into the flour because that'll kind of compact it and mess up with the ingredients. Now you're just going to use a straight edge and then, let's see there, and just level it off like that. So we have 2 cups of cake flour, or if you're using white lily flour, 2 cups of that. To the flour, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. Now we're going to whisk this well. You want to make sure the baking powder and baking soda is very well incorporated with the flour and there's no like big chunks. So we're just gonna whisk that together. If you want, you can also sift all of these ingredients at once. Load a bowl. Now I added 1/4 cup of buttered flavored shortening or Crisco and 3 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to cut this into the flour. You want to make sure that the butter and shortening and everything basically you're using is really cold. I actually stuck the shortening into the freezer. You can also stick the butter into the freezer and then grate it over the flour. So we're just going to cut this into the flour until it resembles crumbs. Now I have 1 cup of buttermilk here, and I'm going to stir it in a little bit at a time until it's all incorporated. And the buttermilk is also very cold. You don't want to overmix the dough. So there we go. Make sure you get all of that buttermilk in there. And lightly fold it. So we're just going to put our dough onto a lightly floured surface. Now you want to work pretty quickly because you want to keep everything cold. That ensures like a really nice fluffy soft biscuit. So we have all of our dough there. Now the dough is pretty sticky, but it's okay. We're just going to kind of work the flour in. You don't want to add too much flour. The less flour you can get away with, that would be ideal. So we're just going to fold and press until it's more of a manageable dough. Just like that. Get any flour in if it's becoming a little sticky. And then you kind of want to press it down into a 1-inch thick rectangle. Now once it's into like a 1-inch kind of rectangle, we're going to fold the dough over several times. This is going to give us the layers. So once we fold, we press and just fold again. And then we're going to pat it again into a 1-inch thick rectangle. Now, if you have a biscuit cutter, you can use that. I don't, so I'm just going to use a little cup. And the most important thing is just to press down. Don't twist, because then you won't get the layers. Everything would kind of be mushed. Now you just want to shape it a little bit, and then I have a buttered 9-inch round, and I'm gonna place it in there. And I'm gonna continue doing that for the rest of the biscuits. Once you're out of the little circles, then you can just fold the dough again and continue making the dough circles. Just like this, and then place it in your pan. Now you're gonna have 8 rounds. I'm gonna pop it back in the fridge for about 10 minutes. But you want them to be touching, and the middle one's kind of like huge, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna pop it in the fridge. I'm gonna preheat the oven to 425 degrees. So I just took my chicken out that's been marinating overnight, and for this I have 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of Lawry's seasoning salt, and 1 teaspoon of cayenne. So we're gonna whisk this well. And the last thing we're gonna add to our batter is about a 1/4 cup of buttermilk, and I'm using the same buttermilk that the chicken was marinating in. It has all the seasonings in it, and it'll be delicious. So this is 1/8 of a cup, that's why I'm using 2 of these to make a 1/4 of a cup. And it'll add just a little bit of flakiness. So we're gonna whisk that well, just to have those little chunks. So now we are just going to take our chicken tenders and then dip it into our breading mixture. Like that. Just shake it up. Make sure it's coated pretty well. Pat it in. And then shake off the excess and put it in a tray. We're going to fry these. I have the oil heating up, and you want the oil to be around 375 degrees. Now while the oil is heating up, I'm just going to brush the tops of these buttermilk biscuits. I know it's a little unconventional, but it's a light coating of mayo. So we're going to do that, and then the oven is already preheated to 425, and we're gonna bake it for about 14 to 16 minutes until they're golden brown. And then right when they come out of the oven, we're gonna brush them with some butter. Now that the oil is around 375 degrees, we're going to add in our chicken and cook until it's golden brown, delicious, and the inside is 165 and the chicken is cooked. So you want to cook these for, it's going to take roughly about 7 to 10 minutes. You want the internal temperature to be 165. So it's almost there. It's at 158. Having a meat thermometer is super handy when you're not sure about whether the inside is cooked or not. And you do want to flip it maybe like halfway through so the other side can get brown as well. It looks so yummy. Now I have a wire rack with foil lined underneath with the baking tray, and I took out our chicken. They look so beautiful, oh my goodness. So we're going to let the oil come back up to 375 degrees because we want the next batch to be as crispy and flavorful and luscious as before. So we're just gonna wait until that happens and then add the second batch in. Now after the biscuits are done after 14 minutes, I turned the oven off, turned the broil on, and we're going to broil it for about 2 minutes to get that nice golden brown color on top. Now you also do want to keep an eye on it because you don't want the biscuits to burn on the top. Now once the biscuits come out of the oven, you immediately want to brush them with some melted butter. I have some Kerrygold Irish butter, and you want to generously douse each biscuit with the butter. They smell. So our chicken is fried up. You can see how soft and flaky and beautiful our biscuits look. Now we're gonna assemble. So now in a bowl, I just mixed 2 tablespoons of mayo and 1.5 tablespoons of our peach habanero barbecue sauce that we made. It's totally optional. And to this mixture, I'm going to add our broccoli, red cabbage, carrot, coleslaw mix. and mix well. Now to assemble, I cut one of the biscuits in half and we added some of that broccoli coleslaw mixture. To that, we are going to add our fried chicken. We're going to top it with some of that peach habanero barbecue sauce. That looks so divine. Ooh. And then top it with our biscuits.